What's going on, guys? This is the one Ron Ryko. Today we are finally here with the Flame Toys Dino Megazord. I've been sitting on this for a minute. I've had it here. I've been making sure to get other stuff out of the way. I've been making sure I have the space to record it because it's probably going to be a longer video. I'm going to try to keep it not too long, but there's a lot to go over with these figures as well as the combination itself. I don't know if I'm going to show the combination in the video itself. I might make a separate video on the combination, but I'm at least going to show how these stack up against really the only competitor they have, the Soul of Chogokin Megazord. And then combine them as well, combine the Megazords versus each other, the good and the bad and all that. So it's going to be a minute. I'm going to break it down. At first, it's going to be just the figures themselves with the comparisons versus the SOC, because there's a bunch of other figures I could compare them to, like the Legacy Megazord, this, that, and whatever. The only Megazord that matters here in comparison is the SOC. Because the only thing that's going to be even remotely close to the articulation, the combination, the weight, the feel, the look, that's the only one that comes even close. The Legacy are great, and I love them. They do not compare. So, there's that out of the way. Let's start off here. I'm going to have to spread them apart. Let's start with little guy up front. Let's start with the Mammoth. Mastodon, technically. I don't know what the hell a Mastodon is, but this one, he doesn't move too much, of course. He has a little bit of, little feet movement because of transformation. He does move his snout, his trunk, if you will, so he can give you a big sniff. Just stinky. But the most bricky of them all, not his fault, because he becomes the arms, and the arms have a lot of movement, but for sake of what he is, he can't really move. And then as for his comparison, we have the Soul of Chogokin Mastodon. I'm going to move you guys out of the way real quick. You can see, oh yeah, this is another, that right there. I already emailed the people I got this from. It came out of the box like that. Thankfully, it snaps back in, really, for the most part. So it won't bother me too terribly. But the fact it does that, I'm hoping they can replace at least the head. But be wary of that. Those can be a weak point. But as you can see, he is a bit smaller than the Soul of Chogokin Mastodon. Just a bit. A bit more compact, but I think it leads to the arms being more malleable and being able to move more. He also has a little tail. This guy doesn't. That's about the range of movement for this guy. More or less the same. He can kind of, his back feet don't really move, but his front feet can wiggle a bit due to transformation. He's the more the most shrunken looking of them all. He looks a little bit tighter packed, but also the Soul Chogokin is a touch heavier. These ones have, the Flame Toys ones have the die cast to them. I think the Soul Chogokins are all technically heavier because they have more die cast. All the feet are die cast in this one. He also has similar trunk articulation, and he said it can kind of move up because it's on a thing, whereas he snaps right in. He's kind of on a little bit of a hinge that he can kind of get away and go, the shazoo. But his head can only wiggle just a little bit, again due to transformation. So the most simple of the Zords. Not as an insult, but he is the arms, and that is what he's built to do. Next, let's get into the Sabertooth Tiger. I really like what they did with this one. I like how much personality you can give it. The head can move up and down. He can look left and right. Of course, it's all due to transformation. His mouth does open. I guess her mouth, because this is well, in the original Zero Ranger, it was a guy Yellow Ranger, but in Power Rangers, it was a female Yellow Ranger. So pick whatever you want. It could be the tiger. It's a robot. It can be whatever it wants, I guess. The tail does move up and down. Of course, you can have it just lay down, be comfy, and it poses really well. Because you see here, the shoulders kind of pop out a bit when you're posing it. I'll wiggle it out a bit, so you can get the legs spread to get it more like a dynamic, pouncing pose, get low and angry, or just kind of how I like having it is standing sideways and kind of looking at you. The tusks do move as well. Be very careful with them, but for transformation, they do move. I think there's a little bit of a thing there. That's more stuff for transformation. That's... Oh, I broke it? No. It's for transformation. The wheels do not roll. They are just there for decoration as far as I know. So it doesn't roll. That's the one thing you lose out. And you'll see that here in a bit on the next guy I go into. But they don't have that form of play. But if that's sacrificed for everything else this toy can do, I'm okay with that. Then as compared to the Soul Chogokin. Again, the Soul Chogokin, they're a bit bigger, they're a bit bulkier. Has similar head move. You can look up and down. You can go, the shoulders and stuff like here. What I like what they did is that the leg is built on the outside, not built into the body itself. Whereas over here, it's in line with the body because it's meant to, you know, tuck back in for transformation. And these wheels also don't roll, but, you know. I think there's a little bit more head expression. Oh, well, you can also, again, do a transformation, kind of make it look up more. So you can kind of also still get away with that same kind of look. But again, bigger, a little bit heavier, like definitely taller. So I think the Soul Chogokin is going to win out in height by just a touch. Again, the tail, so I can hang it up a bit. Tail, same deal. This tail really doesn't do anything. You can't really do any super dynamic poses. You can get the head going and get something like that. But there isn't much playability with the body itself because it can't really do nothing. And he'll want to fall over, but you can kind of get more dramatic action poses, even getting it like low down to the ground here. Like play. Imagine it's wagging its tail because it's excited to play. So that is the Sabertooth Tiger. Pretty straightforward. I like it. I like that the legs are not just legs. I really, really enjoy that with this figure, this whole set, rather. They're not just legs. This, you can do fun cat things, but at the end of the day, its body doesn't move, its legs don't move. It is a leg. It's a fancy leg. You can, at least they gave it arm articulation there, or I guess leg articulation. You can have it do lion kick, or saber-tooth tiger kick, tiger knee. But it is a leg. And there is no worse offender of just being a leg than my boy, my love, one of my favorites, because, you know, blue's my favorite color. Little tank over here, the Triceratops. They did add the gimmick that you can pop these out on the Soul Chogokin, right? Tires don't spin, but you can pop it out, so he's a little bit thicker looking. He can move his head. I believe his mouth does open, but I'm not gonna sit here and try to fight it. I don't think his mouth opens. But this can move. This up here can move, right? And this is Soul Chogokin. This is it. It is unfortunately and unequivocally a leg. It does have the horn gimmick where it has the chains in there and all that, but it is a leg. Unfortunately, it is a leg. This is the Flame Toys Triceratops. And do you see what they did to him? They made him a very good boy. He is a dog. A doggo, if you will. This is the cutest shit. I love it. He can, like, if you want to. Because there's nothing wrong with just being a tank. You tuck in the legs, and you can roll them around like so. So you can do that with each tank tread, and push these in a bit, and he can be in tank mode. Or as I started calling it, loaf mode. But if you want him to stand up and be more than just a leg, he has legs. He's no longer just a leg, he in fact has them. And you can wiggle each these parts out similar to what you did or can do with the Sabertooth Tiger to give it more range of expression. And his mouth does open as well. Let's see if we can get in there. There we go. So look, we have the goodest boy. I love this so much. This is arguably my favorite of them because, again, blue's my favorite color. And the fact they did him so well. He looks really good. He can move. He can get low. Even though this neck is not technically recommended in the... he's supposed to be more like this in, like, not canon, but in the instructions, you're not supposed to have his head up like that. That's more for transformation and what have you. But the fact I can do it and still move in front of his body and have him just be the goodest boy you've ever seen, I absolutely love it. You get the tail going, of course. I kind of wish there was a little bit more articulation in the front and backwards on the tail, but that's just reaching for more things to have. I really love what they did. They did him justice. They did him justice. He's finally not just a leg. He's not just, oh, a piece. Because blue's my favorite color. I love the Blue Ranger. I always wanted to be the Blue Ranger. Always thought the Blue Ranger should have been the leader, you know. But he was always shafted to being a leg. In a lot of series, the Blue Ranger is just the leg. But here they give him more playability. So to the point where I'm not against just posing this set by themselves. Because just having them stand next to each other, they all look good together. And I absolutely love it. He... and you'll see right over here in just a second, he's not the only one they decided to give a little bit more love and care to make more than just a part of the Megazord. He is his own thing. I love you, little buddy. I always will. But they made it its own Zord. I never understood why he didn't have his own legs. I get it, he's a tank, haha, but why can't he be more than that? And that's one thing I really love about the Flame Toys. They made it its own thing. It's its own toy more than just, woohoo, I roll around and that's literally all you can do. He has more dynamic posing. And if you want him to loaf up, you can. So you can still, if you don't like this, I know a lot of people have their opinions on how this figure looks. And I understand it's a very big departure from the initial. Very much so than the initial Daijujin, I think that's how it's said, or Megazord, Dino Megazord, as us Power Rangers on the west side know. The fact that he is more than just a leg, I appreciate that. But if you don't like that, if you think, oh, they're doing too much, you can literally fold him up, make him into tank mode, and there is no difference. Again, this one's a bit heavier, a bit more die-cast because of how it is, but it's really hard to compare. I also love the style of horns. The traditional straight curved horns are great, but I love they also took care to do a slight little difference to make it a bit more different as well. I also love the choice of blue. The colors on here, I don't know if I'm completely sold on this kind of yellow. I don't hate it. I don't know how it pops up to you on screen, but this shade of blue and the rest of the colors, the like reddish pink they chose to use on like the pterodactyl, the red on the Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus. It all looks good, and I really do like their color scheme. But, pet the boy. Come back. This, arguably, outside of the Triceratops, is the biggest change that they did. Again, I'm going to start with the Soul Chogokin this time. This is the Soul Chogokin Pterodactyl. What does it do? It stands there. It looks pretty. It's well made. It's got nice weight for being the chest plate. It can peck and go, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a crane, or it's probably more of a crane noise, but I'm going to move the lights up just a bit because the white head is glaring real bad. But you have the wing movement here because they fold in to become the chest piece. These are the cannons to the back of the Megazord, or in the arms of the tank mode, if you will. And, what am I forgetting? Oh yeah, that's it. It doesn't do anything else. Again, just like the Triceratops, the Pterodactyl got incredibly shafted because it's just the chest piece. It doesn't do anything. It's cool, it's fun, you can get the flight and go, wee! But that's it. You can't do anything else with it. Sorry, my lamp is freaking out. There is nothing else you can do with it. It's just what it is. That's why Flame Toys, I really appreciate what they chose to do here. Again, beyond just the design upgrade, the fact I really love wings on my robots, I don't even know if I can fit the whole thing. I'm going to have to do this. They increased the wing size, incredibly so, That's actually the Megazord skirt that attaches to the front here to give it little feet so it can stand on its own when it's not like in a flight mode or whatever. Its head can actually move. And look, even the little frill on its head can move. I'll move down here to focus up. Come on. There we go. So the frill will move a bit. It can actually look around. Its mouth is not open. There's no mouth there. Don't try that. But that's the chest piece. This comes off. The skirt comes off. The wings come off and all combine onto the Tyrannosaurus to form the Megazord. And if you didn't pick up already, the neck and head of the pterodactyl is the power sword. So its tail is the power. They incorporated the sword into the Zord itself. The sword Zord, if you will. Compared to this. That's all it does. This is an incredible upgrade, and it's definitely love given to a Zord that needed it. Truly, I'm going to fix this table real quick. Because, again, great. It's nostalgic. I love it. All it does is just stand there and fall apart. Here, each part of it has been separated. So it's a kind of parts former, if you will, because each part gets taken off to make something else. But the fact they've made it so cool looking, the wings. People love it or hate it with these wings. I absolutely love it. I love it when my robots have wings of any kind. Like one of my favorite Gundams is Wing Gundam. Strike Freedom, or just Strike Gundam, or Freedom Gundam rather, with the big wings. Gurren Lagann, they're not big fancy crazy wings, but they have good wings. Epion in the back there, you can barely see him. He has big scary like dragon-esque wings. This is all I could have ever wanted on a Megazord, bro. It is beautiful. It has articulation. It can actually not only move forward and backward, but it can move like here as well. So if you can do a kind of like what's his name? A like King Ghidorah crawling pose, like from the movies where he like kind of crawl with his feet and attack. It's a toy now. There's more to it than just being the shield. It is, or the chest plate, if you will. It is its own figure. It can do something now, and I really appreciate that they did that. Because I don't know how you can hate this. I know it's not the original, and it's scary looking, and dude, it's doing too much. It's too much of a busy design. I think this is absolutely perfect, and a perfect way to improve upon the pterodactyl that didn't do anything else. It is kind of sad that it's a parts former. You pop this off, the wings and the head, and all those parts combine and onto a big Rexy back here. But that means it's also more involved in the design. It's not just a chest plate that gets lost in the shuffle because, oh yeah, that is the Pink Ranger Zord. No, the head is the sword. The wings are on back and you know where they came from. The skirt piece, the chest piece. We all know where it came from, and I love that you break this part down and it becomes multiple pieces that don't easily get lost in the shuffle, but also blend in perfectly with the completed design. Very, very good. Between that, I think that one's definitely the biggest upgrade over Mr. Little Topsy over here, because of all the love they showed to it. This is great, but they turned this, at least was like a rolling tank. This was nothing. It was a chest plate that did nothing else. They made it into an actual toy, and I can't hate them for that. And speaking of the actual toy, it's time for the big bad boss, the Red Ranger Zords. We have the Soldier Goken Megazord, or Dino Zord, T-Rex Dino Zord, if I could speak, versus the Flame Toys. And here as well, I'll say that yes, technically this one is a bit bigger and a bit heavier. I think they're closer in weight than everything else, but he still wins out on weight by far just because of how they were built. And as accurate and original design he is, or an accurate to the original design rather. He's got the tail movement, which can lock in or detach to kind of be free floating. He's got his little arm movies. You know, he can do his grips. He grippy. He's got the opening mouth, the cannons on the inside. He can twist at the thigh. Do pretty good extensions here and there. Because these were meant for articulation. all that's good here is arguably only better over here. He has full range of movement with his arms. He's got an upper bicep swivel, a nice shoulder, even a wrist swivel down here. He can actually push his arm out way farther than he probably should because he's a T-Rex, but he can throw his hands in the air and wave them like he just don't care. Again, he has the opening mouth, great teeth with the cannons in there, which the cannons can be pushed down, so they're like more into his bottom of his mouth, or you can push them up to like being active. Of course, we see the hidden surprise back here. The tail, it can actually push in, or you can slot them out, as you see here, and get more range of movement up and down. He doesn't necessarily need the tail to stand up, but it's all tails on figures are built as a built-in stand. If you move his little skirt pieces out of the way, similar, if not better, articulation to the Soldier-Goken. Same thigh swivel, real deep knees. The feet fold in. That's probably due to transformation. If the instructions are right, you can actually move the feet down a bit too to get more. See that you hear a little pop? There we go. You can fold out more to give more feet articulation, so you can have more to them. Just gotta wiggle it out a bit. There we go. They do clench up. That's for transformation. But if you want to have them do a big kick, or you can have him hit the rider kick, bro. Yeah. If I had a bigger flight stand or something that could hold something this heavy, I would. Also built into here is this. The legs can slide out a bit to add more movement and articulation, and just slide right back in. Is more so for transformation. He can lean back real far and kind of wiggle a bit. No ab crunch because of transformation. I got little doohickeys back here. And see, this is like, even this is on like a hinge. You can hear that click. So each part of the tail, so he can go all the way up. I don't know if he can stand like that, because he's not as heavy as a Soldier-Goken, but he is still heavy. Let's see if I can just pose him forward in like a screaming. Let's see if I can get his feet up here. Can I get him to hold? Look at that. His tail is all the way up, not on the ground, and he can hold his place. It would be a little bit wobbly because, you know, look at him, he's huge. But the fact he can do that, I'm shaking the table a bit, and he stays in place. You can really expertise, that's not the word. You can put a lot of expression into this, especially with the angry T-Rex head. It is smaller than the Soldier-Goken head. Like, it's a little... I would have done with the head being a little bit bigger, but again, this is all based on transformation anyway. It's going to get tucked in the chest, and they were trying to be different. So I understand why his head isn't as big. But these two icons. Everybody loves the Red Ranger, even though they prefer the Green Ranger, which I can't wait for the Flame Toys Dragon Zord whenever they announce that, because my wallet just wants to be beat. This is another just absolute upgrade. And one thing I will point out, they gave us the Power Ranger lightning bolts. This is always this is a reference to how back in the day, instead of the stickers that were like classically on there in the Super Sentai version, they would just give us silly thunderbolts because Power Rangers thunderbolts. That's what they do. The Power Ranger lightning bolt. They incorporated that to one side. So we got one side has the proper, and the other side has the Power Rangers lightning bolt. I like that, so it's in reference to both. So if you want to pose them on this side, you can be more of, oh, this is the Super Sentai Daijujin, or that is the Power Ranger Dino Megazord. I like that. I kind of wish they would include parts where you could swap them both out, so you could have either both of each instead of one and one. But I don't necessarily hate what they've done with that. I like that a lot. And see, his nose actually pops in a bit. If you open his mouth more, his nose kind of pops out a bit too. So, that is all the base Zords compared to each other. So now there's only one thing to do here, and that's to bring them together. I'm going to do a quick cut here, and I'll bring back both figures when they're combined into their Megazord modes. I am not going to show the tank mode because nobody displays it in the tank mode. Tank mode is cool. I like that I can do it. I am not going to show that. And I'm probably, given this video is already about 25 minutes long, depending on how my editing goes here, I'm not going to show the transformation sequence in the video. I'm probably going to make a separate video if you want to see that. Kind of like what I did with the Riobot Gurren Lagann. But give me just a second here, and we'll come back to these Megazords put together, and we'll see how they stack up. And here we have it, guys. We have the fully combined Kuri combined Flame Toys Megazord in all of its glory. It took me a little bit to figure it together because it's a very intricate piece, and it's not a difficult transformation, but there are things that are kind of annoying. Not necessarily in a bad way, but like getting the legs to click on properly, like sliding the Tyrannosaurus legs into Sabertooth and Triceratops. You got to go like a weird, like a 45-degree angle and lock it in, and it's a little annoying. But otherwise, everything else does connect on pretty solidly. This isn't connected completely properly. There's a tab on the back supposed to lock into the hand. For the life of me, I cannot figure out how to do it. I've watched other videos on people doing it, and the best one I could see that showed how to do it had the guy's hands in the way the whole time. So I don't know how it slides on all the way and latches onto the top there, but it holds itself in place just fine. There's tabs on the inside of the little handle here that are fitted for the hand, because all the fingers are movable, but there's tabs, on the sword, and on the inside of the handle as well, like square U shape that slides right in. Holds it pretty well. The hands can't fully grip tight, so it can be kind of a loose holding, but with the extra added grip of the little lock-in place there, you should be fine. It looks absolutely gorgeous just standing there. I guess breaking the fourth wall. It's been sitting on this shelf for a couple days now. I couldn't get right back into finishing this part of the recording after I put it together. I was messing around with this thing for a couple hours, just getting a feel for it and putting it together before I actually just gave up with trying to finish the video that night. But I'm back here. I'm going to zoom in a bit now. He is a tall drink water. I was super zoomed back, as far back as I could really fit in my area here, because he is very tall. Like, bringing the camera down, he is a big boy. So I'm going to just start from the top, work in, so we'll bring him in closer here. He's a nice weight, doesn't wiggle around much, as you can see, but he's not super heavy. I don't hate that. It's got a solid weight, but it doesn't feel like it's a big block in your hands, And as you can see, his hands hold in place pretty well. The sword itself is not very heavy, and of course the Mastodon head is not heavy either, so it's not going to really have trouble keeping his arms out and up. I will drop I'll keep the sword in for now. I'm going to do, before I get into the actual articulation and what have you, I'm going to do one main comparison, and then I'll have some other little comparisons I'll do. Let's just do the comparisons first. That'll be the main one that you guys are really going to care about. I have the Soul Chogokin Megazord. I threw him all together as well. So let's stand them all right and right next to each other. And I'm going to zoom out once again for you so you guys can really see. The similarities and differences are all very clear. Obviously, this one looks lore accurate, if you will, and this one is the new crazy fancy version. And Sunrays came to join us. Hi, buddy. How you doing? Probably gonna jump in the window and be a cat, as he does. He heard me talking, so he had to join in. On one thing I noticed while I have these here, if you don't like the look of this sword, you can easily just take the Soul Chogokin sword and slap it in his hand. I'm pretty sure he'd hold it just fine. That's why I kind of wanted to wait and test here, so I'm going to pop this one off. It won't look exactly proper because you don't have the pterodactyl head on the end, but I'm pretty sure if you just want to give him a more classic sword, he'll be able to hold it well enough. Well, maybe not. I'm glad I'm testing this, because Okay, so you can kind of finagle it and make it work, but oh, I just wasn't gripping the hands right. Okay, well, he's going to be kind of choking up on it, but you could make it work if you really wanted to. And obviously, this one is probably going to be the more preferred because it's the chrome, it's shiny, or this one's just the basic plastic, but it goes more with the actual design, so. And then the Mastodon heads are the Mastodon heads. They're nothing too crazy. Getting this off is a little bit of annoying because it, thank God it was, I already knew it was broken, so I'm not going to freak out. It is a little annoying to get that tab back out, but ta-da. Let me put the horn back on here. And this one thankfully just slides right out. So, see, very different setups here. The OG literally just slots into the hand and ta-da. Whereas this one's like a different shield base. We see there's that little peg part I was talking about that just slots right into the hand and he grips it like this. And this little peg is supposed to go onto this little hole on his hand. For the life of me, I can't make that work, but it's apparently how it's supposed to go. And then getting their bits off. Again, I'm going to stand you a bit more upright and put them next to each other. I will say the Soul Chogokin is significantly heavier, probably because there's way more die cast in it. But that doesn't make this one feel any less quality than the Soul Chogokin. But he is a bit bulkier. This is obviously the representation of Megazord. Move his hands. He's got the bicep swivel. All that. Can't really move forward or back. Can kick forward pretty well, but he collapses under his own weight. Can't really go back. Not much in knee bend, obviously. So it can pose and you can make it work, but he is very limited because that's just the design of the Megazord. This one's meant to add a bit more playability and posability, but nowhere really as much as what you can do with the Flame Toys one here. That popped off, that's okay. It's on a ball joint, but he can go full up. He can, with the tail in the way, he can't do a full back, but that's okay. Like I said, just a little ball. Pops right back in and connects that down there. He can go up here, and I've seen people do some crazy poses so far. He can get in a lower stance, and with the heads you can kind of finagle. Even that, as goofy as it looks, he's actually more balanced than you'd want him to be. I guess surprisingly, I wouldn't leave him like that, but you can kind of, there, I'll pull back a bit so you can see he's pretty good there. He has the butterfly joint and can do a full 360. I'll get to that later. I did off screen, I did manage to get the pop going. It's tight in here, so when you unlock the lock on the back that is for the body lock, you have to just tug it up and don't force it, but you got to kind of maneuver with it, but he can move back and forth. The thigh twist it gets kind of stuck by the design itself, but it can turn. You just kind of have to work with it. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to force it right now, but it can do it. It was just kind of hidden. Of course, the big grip there, turning the biceps, the hands all the way. Of course, Soul Chogokin over here, he just has the open hands that the open and close, whereas here he's got the full posable fingers. So as I did with the Gurren Lagann, you can do the good old classic middle finger, because tell me not to make that the thumbnail. I really might, but I'm not. I'm going to try to do a different thumbnail, but classic. The arms don't get in the way of the wings. I say that as they get in the way of the wings. It's just, you got to maneuver them because there's so much going on. And while I have this here, I'm actually going to show off. These are, in fact, guns. They're not just cannons on the back. You fold them down, pop it out, and you have guns. They can be held by either hand. and they go right into the ports that I mentioned earlier for the sword and the Mastodon head. It just ports right in here. And if you, like I said previously, I think in the first part, he can be posed without the wings. So if you want a more classic but, you know, interpreted design, you can have this. So it's clearly Megazord. I can see with the boxes I've been messing with, but he is his own thing as well, so it's nothing super crazy. Alright, now continuing. So, just showing the wings off. I did this before, but they do work really well. And if you want them off, you can. I'm going to take them off just because they kind of get in the way. But they look great on it. That's how I'm going to pose it. One complaint I've seen people have, and I'm mixed with it, is the tail does not come off. There's no way to remove it. The tail is on, and that's the bottom line with that. I wouldn't be against the tail being removable, but at the same time, the whole point is to have it super crazy and different and have the wings and the whole like primal look to it while still retaining the base core of looking like the original Megazord, Daijujin, whatever you want to call them. But it looks great next to it. You can hit him with the thumbs. I just got the gun and the thumbs up. Ta-da. As you can see, the head can do way more with it. You can look up, look down, turn all the way around. You can bend forward and back pretty well. The side to side is there. It's just really tight and weird. Like I said before. This is one little thing here. I think there is a lock that goes on this head to keep it from moving forward, but I think I have them all engaged. The only like fall feature I can see is this, is the head on the Sabertooth leans forward a bit, but taking my hands off of it, he's still standing. This is definitely a fall hazard, and this is the one that I would not let hit the ground, because if it falls, that is game over. But the fact still remains, he is balanced here. Like I can shake him a little bit, shake the table, jump around in my chair. He's not moving. I wouldn't risk this, but he can hit the Michael Jackson lean and still be fairly okay with that. And like I said, there's a twist here. You can really, I popped it off again. You can really get in the action poses as long as you remember to move the things out of the way. You can get a big old kick, and to an extent, you can kind of make him balance himself. It's tough, but with maneuvering, you can kind of get away with it, or if you have some stands to help hold them in place. Now, as for which one's the better toy, better collectible, by all accounts, the Flame Toys Megazord is the better toy. It is the better figure. It's more posability, more action you can do with the actual individual Zords. The combined mode is more than posable and functioning. You can get all sorts of crazy poses with it. It can do a lot more than Soul Chogokin. Soul Chogokin is the perfect, or as near perfect as you can get, representation of the OG Daijujin Megazord, Dino Megazord, whatever you want to call it. It is the quintessential, this is all you could ever want and more. But it is limited by what it is. It can't really move. It can do some posing, but most of the time it's, look at me stand there and look really, really good. And as for standing there and looking really, really good, it's hard to beat. But look at the emotion you can express through the Flame Toys Megazord. Yes, it's not for everybody. It's a very, very big price tag. It is a huge departure from what you're used to in your Megazords, because, again, this is as close to the original as you can really get, and this is just an interpretation. But as a toy, this one is so much better. I'm not saying that as a knock against the Soul Chogokin, but strictly toy-wise, this is the better figure. Now, as for what you want to pay for it, that's up to you. I paid $500 for my Soul Chogokin. Like I said, it was initially like $300-$400 on release. Not anymore. Luckily, I was able to buy it for a decent price. $500 being decent, I guess, for me buying it 4-ish years ago now. And this one was about $470. I think I got it off Show Z store. So, ta-da. I'm going to do a couple more comparisons and then end this video. Here it is against the NECA Toys Godzilla. As you can see, he is huge. Absolutely huge compared to it. Not even close. In the same vein, I'm just going to use Ghost Koo because he's the one I can grab the easiest. Here's your average SH Figure Arts compared to it. It's come up to about like the hip, only with the hair. He's a big boy. Now getting back into the big boy comparisons, I have two more that I wanted to show off. One because it's fun, and two just to give you an idea if you don't have the Soldier Goken. This is the Legacy Dragon Zord. So it's the Legacy one with the die cast, and he beats it out by just a touch. And while we're talking about Dragon Zord, I cannot wait for the Flame Toys Dragon Zord. I want to see their interpretation of that, and I want to see how these combine. It will probably be expensive, but it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait. This was a smash hit from what I've seen. Everyone that I've seen review it so far loves this figure for what it is, even with the faults that it does have. For the money, it is kind of pricey, but for what you get, I think it is worth it. And the last comparison, of course, I got to do is the CCS Toys Gurren Lagann. And the Flame Toys actually does beat it out by about a head and a half, really. It's a decent size bigger. I thought they'd be closer in size, honestly. But the fact that it actually does beat out Gurren Lagann by a decent bit, it's actually making me like it a bit more. Now, who would win in a fight? Obviously, Gurren Lagann would win, hands down, even if he is the smaller mech. Especially in lore, Gurren Lagann is nowhere near the size of the actual Megazord, but he would still win because he would just integrate, and we'd have a Gurren Lagann Megazord, which would probably be the hardest thing ever created. Move Godzilla's tail out of the way. But, as you can see here, he stands among some of the biggest figures I own, and still wins by about a head. Final thoughts on this thing. It's absolutely great. There's not much they could have added to it more that they already did. They thought about a lot of things. With the locking mechanisms are a little goofy, but they work. They show off that the figure can move around, can pose really well, looks good, plays good. The only little thing, maybe if they added the chains and the Triceratops horns just to have that extra play feature, that would have been cool, but I understand that little thing had to be sacrificed. And I think it was only used like once or twice in the show in the earlier season, and like the early season before they actually even combine into the Megazord completely. So it makes sense that they just wouldn't include it. And I'm going to finish this off by putting his wings back on because it's only right. Alright, so I added his wings back on to finish off the video. Again, final thoughts. Pricey, but absolutely worth it if you want a different take on the Megazord. I would love to see Flame Toys take on a combining just a regular Megazord if they did like their version of Soldier Goken. I think they could do it justice, and given off what they've done here, I think they could make a very posable, very fun to play with Megazord. But this is the best Megazord toy we have. It in posability, playability, features, what it can do. It is not the ideal Megazord if you want the classic design, but this is really hard to beat with what it can do and the functionality of it. The price is high, but you get what you pay for sure. So if you love Power Rangers and you want a different take, this is it. I would get it before it's hard to get, because it just released. I'd get it while it's still possible to get it, so you're not paying $800 later. I don't mean to buy into the FOMO, but at the same time, it's real, and I wouldn't doubt this will resell for like $6+ when it's not in circulation anymore. But anyway, if you like what you see, leave a like down below and subscribe for more content like this, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Figure reviews, and Beyblades. I've been the one, Ron Ryko, and as always, may the power protect you.